We're live.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Adityanji, and on behalf of the ICHRRF, International Commission for Human Rights and Religious Freedom, and on behalf of the executive team of the ICHRRF, I invite all of you to a special seminar in the ICHRRF Speaking Up series. Today is Sunday, February 25th. It's around 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. A little bit about ICHRRF before we actually start the seminar. International Commission for Human Rights and Religious Freedom is a US-based nonprofit focused on upholding human rights and religious freedom through continuous monitoring, policy intervention, and collaboration. We are focused on educational, research, legal, and human rights advocacy and charitable purposes, and we strive to be an advocate for human rights and religious freedoms of underrepresented communities across the world. We do believe that humankind can no longer afford to be selectively vocal about the rights of only a specific set of people. A humane and just world necessitates fair treatment of all living beings, and our focus is on indigenous rights and freedom, free speech, and their cultural preservation. Some of our initiatives include monitoring violations of freedom and sanctity of religious and philosophical minorities across the world, research into documentation of the culture, history, and challenges faced by such communities, policy recommendations on human rights, religious diversity, and pluralism to international organizations, agencies, national and local governments, collaboration to support cultural and philosophical diversity across the world, conducting special hearings on human rights violations, Professor Ved P. Nanda Memorial Fellowship Training Program, a Forgotten Genocide Convention to be held annually in Washington, D.C. And we do encourage publications of books through the ICHRRF Press. This is the logo of the ICHRRF. And topic of today's panel discussion or seminar is challenges faced by Ghanaian Hindus in Africa. This is a panel discussion on historical evolution and present challenges of Ghana's indigenous Hindu community. The discussion covers its relationship with the country's indigenous African religious tradition, as well as with other faith communities in the region. The discussion will be followed by a question and answer session. So just to orient you, this is the map of Ghana, and this is Swami Ghananand Saraswati, the pioneer of Hinduism in Ghana. Swami Ghananand Saraswati stated, and I will quote, African religions and Hinduism have certain similarities. Traditional African religions recognize the many aspects of Brahman and worship God as Prithvi, Vayu, Varuna, Agni, etc., just as in Hinduism. Only Africans who have been exposed to Hinduism can appreciate these similarities, which help them to better understand African beliefs and aspirations. So this tells you, this picture, an idol of Lord Ganesha being brought by African devotees of Hinduism. Again, devotees of Hinduism from Ghana. Again, Lord Ganesha being brought by Ghana Hindus. This is a temple congregation in Ghana. This is the entrance of a temple, Hindu temple in Ghana. Again, the same thing. Hindus from Ghana doing a small presentation as Lord Krishna and Radha. Again, worshipping Lord Krishna and Radha. This is Shri Shri Radha Govind Mandir in Ghana. Let me come to the panelists. There are supposedly 4 panelists. I'm not sure how many of them will be able to join from Ghana because of technical challenges. First of them is Sanjaya Sarpong. He's a banker with over 10 years of experience in the financial industry. He specializes in managing client relationships, analyzing market trends, and providing strategic financial and credit guidance. He has an MBA in finance and is a chartered credit professional. He was born a Hindu in Ghana, and his passion is to support others, spread love, and live by the tenets of Sanatana Dharma. His goal is to project the teachings and spread the love of the gurus. Second is Swami Nityananda Kofi Gyasi Esuman, who is a Ghanaian Hindu. He has a degree in information and communication technology and a diploma in business studies. He's a certified graduate. He has other multifaceted interests spanning culture, music, spirituality. He was also born a Hindu and would love to help the needy and contribute to the society in his own small way. He loves to sing and play traditional drum called djembe. Djembe. The other panelist is Bharat Korli. He was born as a Hindu in Ghana to parents who were Hindu. He upheld respect in traditional ways of life in Ghana. His upbringing was blend of traditional Ghanaian culture, meditation, singing bhajans, doing yoga, and study of Vedanta, helping in his spiritual journey and of enlightenment. As he was taught to respect for all paths, he is a firm advocate of children's and women's rights, especially girl child's education through advocacy. He has a higher national diploma in fashion design, and in his spare time, he opts to undertake volunteer services for helping to teach children Vedanta and children's poems in a monastery in Ghana, in Africa. And our last speaker would be Daniela Kukanu. He's already here, and she will be introduced by our director for outreach in Africa, Mr. Kofi Sarpong, aka Swami Shri Hariji. A little bit of
sorry, Dr. Adinji, just wanted to mention Sanjaya and Bharata are also online.
Okay. A little bit of housekeeping rules. I would request all the audience members to mute themselves to avoid noise interference. Please change your cell phone setting to vibration mode. Please do not try to interrupt our distinguished panelists. Only those members of the audience who identify themselves openly will be allowed to pose questions, so no anonymous questioners. All the questions are moderated through the chat function. Please send specific questions in the chat room. Don't send lengthy comments. And lastly, this program is being recorded and it would be available on our website as well as on our YouTube channel for viewing in future as an educational resource. So without further ado, I'm going to invite our Director of Outreach in Africa, Mr. Kofi Sarpong, who will moderate this panel discussion. So Kofi ji, namaskar, and floor is yours. Please manage this seminar and panel discussion as you deem fit.
Thank you very much. Dr. Adityanji, who is our director for ICHRRF, for this introduction. I would like to say that, first of all, let me introduce Daniela, who is going to be assisting me with my work. So she's going to be the Assistant Secretary for African Reach. And a little bit about Daniela is that I have known her for some time, because we lived very close. And she's studying at the University of Ghana in Legon. And she's also very passionate in undertaking such a volunteer work for a project. And so I'll probably not go too much into it. Maybe later on, her details will be found on our website. So that's the little that I can say. And I know she's very, very vibrant, and she's also well open-minded. And she's a Christian. So that is what ICHRF is for. It's a human rights organization, and we are not based on any form of religion or anything. So just to let you be aware that I'm happy to have someone who is on the other side to also be assisting me, being a Christian. And the other introduction that I would like to do is Barata Colley is also online. She's also be one of the speakers. And Sanjaya Sarpong, who happens to have the same surname with me, is also present. So please don't get confused when you hear the Sarpongs. Right. So not to carry up things too short. First of all, I'd like to let them carry on. I'll let Daniela take the first speaker, and then tell us a little bit about what her thoughts are on Hinduism and some of the things that she was able to find out. And then from there, we'll move to the main speakers, please. Daniela, you can unmute yourself and go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon. Once again, my name is Daniela. I'm very happy to be part of this panel discussion. So according to my research, I learned so far that among the religious trespasses in Ghana, Hinduism is 0.1%, which I see a little bit amount. And also when it comes to the challenges they face, the country, I think they don't have the voice to come out because they have, there's a social orchestration on them. You know, let me use the local language that we normally. When you come to Ghana, if someone sees you dressed as an Indian, you're going to be like, ew, what's that? The people are not welcoming to their religion. So I think it makes them shy, ashamed to dress out, go out the way they feel, not like how Muslims and Christians in Ghana are able to dress freely, talk about their religion, the country. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Daniela. Hello, Daniela.
Yeah, Daniela, if you can also put the mic closer to your mouth, because your voice is faint.
I think we lost the signal, the audio signal from Daniela.
Right. Okay. Whilst we wait for her to come back, let's whilst we've got Sanjaya, let's get Sanjaya to carry on. And so please, Sanjaya, take over and let's tell us what. Thank you.
Namaste. Greetings from Ghana. I hope you can hear me.
We can hear you clearly, Sanjaya.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. So basically, what I've been able to gather about the challenges we are facing as Hindus here, I will start by introducing one key aspect. That's naturally is typical of Ghanaians. We are a little bit reserved when it comes to certain things. There is this lack of confidence that we have. So when it comes to exposing yourself to others as a Hindu, it becomes a little bit worrying, as Daniela initially said. So most of us growing up, the idea of being a Hindu, it's a non-starter. You are not able, or you will not be allowed to express yourself because you are a Hindu. Naturally, we are supposed to be traditional Africans, and since the Europeans and the Americans infiltrated Ghana, the religion they brought was Christianity and, let's say, Islam. So trying to bring in a new religion that I feel is not really documented in the laws of Ghana makes it hard for some of us. Another form of challenge that I feel is hindering our progress as Hindus in Ghana is lack of books that have been translated into our local dialect. You see, most books that we find on Hinduism are in Sanskrit and a little in English. So for majority of us, most are illiterate. Let's say 60 or 70% of Ghanaians who are Hindus are illiterate. So they will need a third party to translate it into a local dialect before certain aspects of the Hindu religion, our tenets, our books, can be understood by the local people. So in effect, I feel going forward, we should look at having books written in our local dialects that can, let's say, cross the bridge of English and our local dialect actually is Tree, so that we can cross this bridge. Another aspect is there is this stigmatization that is really affecting some of us. If you are not really educated or you are not well versed in the Sanatana Dharma, people may ask you questions that you will not be able to answer. So in effect, when you're asked what religion, you just switch to Christianity so that they don't ask. I witnessed a couple of, let's say, instances that friends who were Hindus were actually saying they are Christians just to avoid being questioned. And I feel that is a great gap. We need to learn more about the religion so that we'll be able to push for others to really understand what goes on in Ghana when it comes to Hinduism. I feel I would like to pause here for someone else to come in. Namaste.
Thank you very much, Sanjaya. And whatever you've said is, it echoes a lot of things that I have personally also experienced, which I'll chip it in later on during the program. I think Barata Akoli is online, so I would like to give her the opportunity to also come up with what she's got for us. So please, Bharat, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you, Bharat. Can you raise your voice up a little bit?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Clearly.
Oh, so my name is Bharat. Sanjaya Sarpong. So sure how to grow up. So to introduce myself, Bharat, I was Hindu but my parents joined and created a Hindu monastery. He started a Hindu monastery. My dad initially joined him before he became a Swami. So he joined us to become a musician. And when my mom got married to him, she also decided to take interest in the Hindu religion. She started learning a lot more from him and from Swami as well, and decided to join the religion as well. So my sibling and I are born into the Hindu religion. And as the lady said earlier, the percentage of Hindus in Ghana are not quite a lot. That's because it's also so it's due to we are not necessarily a lot of members, even though we do have 5 branches in Ghana. And if you are one in Togo as well, we are not a lot of members. Sorry, permit me, I'm a bit nervous. So currently, there are a couple of issues that we have been facing. Most of the times, the teachings we were taught, most of it learned the Swami Gananan Paswas. Some of them were sort of understood because Swami Gananan took his time and taught us mostly in a way that we could relate it to what we are currently doing in our modern lives. How when he takes teaching and Bhagavad Gita and stuff, and he teaches us, he relates it to what we learn back at home, how we live. He also tries to explain it in the local dialect for a lot of people who are familiar with English. So luckily, that was a huge sort of benefit for us in Ghana to be able to sort of better and be able to understand what he teaches, understand the Vedanta better. So personally, I had a few challenges growing up. In school, because I was born Hindu, I didn't know any other way apart from Hinduism. I did learn a bit about Christianity from school, and what we're taught in school, there was religious education where they teach us a lot more about Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, but mostly because the predominant religions in Ghana are mostly Christianity and Islam, sorry. It becomes more of when it becomes about Hinduism, Buddhism, and other religions, that's sort of something they've never had before. A lot of kids are not sort of introduced to it in their homes, like the way I was introduced to it in my home. Growing up, I was taught how to meditate. When you wake up, you meditate, you bow to your parents. You are also taught how to live, and we are taught mostly according to the teaching, the Bhagavad Gita, according to Vedanta, according to what we are taught in the temple. But when I come to school, there was a difference because now I had to be a completely different person. And even my friends, most people shunned away from me because personally, they didn't understand what Hinduism was about. And it was a little bit difficult for me to explain and get them to understand my religion and what they see. Indian movies were quite dominant in Ghana for we are used to watching Indian movies where normally Indians are seen worshiping idols. And when I'm told to explain a bit about my religion, and then we talk about how we pray to our idols, or maybe they see images of idols, they misinterpret. They don't understand that it's symbolic. It's not necessarily that we are worshiping the idols necessarily. We are worshiping the image of God. And when we are meditating, we need it to aid in our meditation. And sometimes when you explain this to Christians who are usually stuck the ways that they've been taught, the ways they've been brought up, that Christianity is the only way, they find it a bit difficult to process. They find it difficult to understand that, okay, this is not all voodoo or occultism, or it's not all strange. It's not something that is strange than Christianity. And there are others who are open to listen to it, but still are stuck in their ways because they think mostly their way is the only way. And because normally Hinduism is mostly not about converting other people's faiths that come and join my religion, or still my religion is the only way, it's difficult to be able to get people to understand that Hinduism is much more liberal. We actually accept other religions and their faith and see it as various paths that lead to God. We don't necessarily we are not limited in our ways. We are open, we are quite open-minded when it comes to our teachings. We are open-minded when it comes to understanding other religions as well. We don't necessarily see that our way is the only solution, and it's more like a way of life. We don't see it as a religion per se. So what
I believe we have lost Barata. She was getting on to the point. Okay, she's back.
She's back.
Okay, she's back. Yeah, she's back.
Oh, so sorry. The network is probably an issue here. Sorry. So
Yeah, go ahead.
I was touching on the issue of symbolism of our idols when we worship our murti. So usually when you see Devi images that have, let's say, multiple hands as a murti, as a normal person, normally they would not necessarily understand what is all of this, what is the significance behind, like, is it, does your God have plenty hands? That's usually a misconception. They don't usually try to understand or try to even understand why we have the deities that have these kind of images, what they represent. And when you gradually explain to some people, they take their time to understand, but it's sort of not, they usually believe that their way is it, and it's not acceptable to them. I do have a few Muslim friends who were open-minded to even listen to me and learn a little bit about my religion. And they were not, to learn a bit about Hinduism, and they were not necessarily bothered as much. They were actually listening and they understood where we came from. Sometimes when I didn't understand some things, I'll refer them to my mother because she would have much more information, and she would also teach them the same way she teaches us and the kids at temple. There's also the issue of vegetarianism. A lot of Ghanaians grew up usually eating meat, mostly meat, and introducing vegetarianism into Hinduism was more like a lot of people had difficulty adjusting to it. Some people would be able to start with with vegetarianism for a little bit, but along the line, they would not necessarily be able to keep up because they feel like, oh, most restaurants in Ghana mostly serve meat. We have very, very limited options for vegetarian options, unlike in India where you have a lot of vegetarian restaurants, a lot of places that serve a lot of very, very good vegetarian foods. And it limits people who don't have the option to cook at home and those who have to go to work and eat what they have to eat at work. So then a lot of people, because they are not practicing ahimsa, which is non-violence, they don't feel like they are leading their life that they should as a Hindu. They don't feel like they are actually practicing a lot of the things that they could. Also, there's also this association and this stigma that Hindus, like the way we dress, we don't necessarily dress in any complicated way, but naturally there's this assumption that, oh, she's Hindu, maybe she has this form of powers, or like there's this, it's sort of a childish mentality. But there are a lot of adults that do have this mentality that once you're Hindu, it's sort of a stigma that because you are not necessarily Christian or Muslim, what you do is, and once you mention Hawan and you even say sacrifice, their mind immediately goes to something negative, that, oh, mostly probably we would sort of do something with blood. And when they see images like Lord Shiva, and they even sometimes listen to some stories about our deities and how we were taught growing up, they sort of immediately go associated to negativity. So there's this stigma that we don't have a lot of friends. Personally, I didn't have a lot of friends growing up because they would not necessarily try to understand my part. And even those who understood, their parents were not open to let their kids be around him to try to understand other religions and learn from us, like the way we are open, or we were allowed to be open and learn from other religions as well. So it's also this thing in our temple where mostly Christians have this idea of you go to church, you pray in the temple, and you sort of you go to church, you pray in your church, pastor prays for you, they see miracles. And sometimes when you do invite your friends to come to the temple to come and see what it's about, to see what they can what conclusions they can come to for themselves, they usually come up with ideas like, why aren't we being prayed for? What is Hinduism is much more about Hinduism is much more about, we have to meditate. You have to be able to sit down, meditate, and then pray for yourself. Try to chant, connect with God. It's sort of an individual connection with God. There's no Swami anywhere that is going to try to say, I'm going to say this for you. There are times when you go to Swami that you need mantras to sometimes guide you, and the Swami is there for guidance, not necessarily to sort of your prayers for you, say your relate your issues to God. We are being taught to individually try to connect with God by ourselves. So there's all of these kind of issues that we face that it sort of causes a problem, because now we have to sort of interact with people who normally would they do pray by themselves, but mostly are used to being prayed for, intercede on my behalf. We do in Hinduism, it's not necessarily like that. So it also causes a lot of people to feel like they can't do most things by themselves. So we do sometimes lose members due to that kind of fact that maybe what they are expecting, they kind of expect to see miracles, they expect to see sort of short signs of, I don't know how to put it, but they expect to see miracles and shows of things, spirituality from when they come to the temple. So when they don't necessarily see that, they are usually not sort of convinced to stay or even join as Hindus. Even Hindus, there are times when we perform our festivals, when we do when we have our spiritual occasions like Shivaratri, like Devi worship and other things. Back then, we used to just come just to celebrate. We join and we fast, we pray, we sing mantras, we do all of this devotion. And it's difficult to sort of come from work and then come back to the temple where you have to fast, you have to keep your focus and try to meditate, because there's sorts of other things that you have to do when you go back to society. So sometimes, even as a Hindu, combining the life as a Hindu in the temple and then in real life, it was sort of a bit of a problem for us growing up, or me growing up as a person. Then there's also the issue of the misuse of mantras. Usually, a lot of people do think like meditation is a way to achieve maybe, yes, there are mantras that are necessarily that help you connect to maybe if you to acquire maybe a child, if you want to get rich, but they are not necessarily for the selfish gain. But a lot of people tend to misuse that. You see a lot of images in public where some people have used Devi images or Lord Shiva images, and they're trying to use that to perform magic tricks and other things. And it's sort of a misrepresentation of what the Hindus actually represent. When you come to our temple, that's not necessarily what we do. So when they see billboards and signboard of someone using maybe an Indian image, or maybe an image of Shiva, an image of Devi, and they are sort of, you come and we perform this for you, we'll heal your illness. I can understand where the idea is coming from, but most of them they misrepresent or misinterpret, and then people assume, well, our religion is associated to that kind of thing, where you go, people perform magic and all sorts of tricks and sort of say, okay, I'll do this for you, you'll be able to get favor, I'll do this for you, you'll be able to get kind of favor. And naturally, a lot of people that go to courts and traditional places for this kind of things, and when they see that some people are using this Hindu, they sort of misinterpret and think that's also what we do at the temple. And that is what Hinduism is about. Or you can go there and within a month or so you get rich, or you can go there and your problems will be solved. Ideally, when you go to God, obviously, when you pray to God and you cast your burdens to God, you meditate, you try to focus on God and try to reflect on and work on your issues, things will work out, but not the way it's being misrepresented in society. outside that, oh, it's sort of a magic trick. We do this, we do that for you. So there were all of these kind of issues growing up. So sorry, to sum up what I was trying, we do have the issue of misrepresentation of our mantras. People misuse the mantras for selfish and personal gain, where they try to convince others that they can do this with it, they can do that with it. And then the images of God as well. People try to use it to sort of create a sort of scenario that they can perform some magic tricks for you and things would work out for you. So there's this whole misrepresentation of that. So to sum up, these are some of the issues I face. I'm open to questions. Sorry if I spoke a little too fast, but I sort of had to come to the point. Anyway, thank you.
You're welcome, Bharat. You nailed it right there, and I really appreciate everything that you mentioned. You're absolutely 100% right. At this point, Daniela, we have Daniela online, so we'd like to let Daniela continue with what her investigations were and what she's come up with. So Daniela, if you can unmute yourself and continue, we'll be very happy.
Yeah, sorry, I had a technical problem earlier on. So as I was saying earlier on, I spoke about minimal number of things we have in Ghana and the challenges the face of racism. So going on, the lady spoke about idols being worshipped. People sometimes think Hindus worship idols. Actually, I'm a Christian, but to be specific, I'm a Catholic. And you know, in the Catholic religion, we have Mary, we have the Mary statue, we have Saint statue, and I can relate to that. People normally say we Catholics worship Mary, but we don't do that. Honor her. We honor her because she's the mother of Jesus Christ, which we believe in. Yes. So going on, I'll say Hindus have less temple, although there are many things exactly in Ghana, but the temples are very less. I think there are 5 temples so far according to me. And 5 temples, if you live in a region that doesn't have a temple, can hardly go to a temple to pray to your God or whatever want. And going on, he spoke about us worship, we Christians going for past. We asked Mother Mary to intervene for us, and some Christians, without a pastor praying for them, they don't believe that whatever they're asking God for is going to come. Yes. She also spoke about our parents teaching us when we're small. Being like this, I have no idea. I don't think I have any friend who is a Hindu until I grew up and I met the Kofi Sarpong. He was the first Hindu person. He's still the first Hindu I know today that teaches me things about Hindu and stuff. And I love Indian actually. When they worship their God, the grand cows, the dances, everything is so nice. Yeah, so I'll say there are less lessons on what Hindus do. Anna, yeah, we movie lovers see what they do when we watch them. But for Ghanaian Hindus to come out to show us what exactly is less, we hardly see that. Yeah, so I think so far that's what I have to say.
Right. Thank you very much, Daniela. We really appreciate your input, especially you coming from the Christian background, and also coming to us support me with my work. I'm really glad. I'll mention it again. One of our speakers is not able to join. I don't know for whatever technical reasons. So I'll go ahead until he's able to join. I'll go ahead and also put out a few things that I also did a lot of research on. One, first of all, like Dr. Aditenji mentioned from the beginning, how Hinduism started. We also thank you so much for mentioning Swami Ghananand, Swami Satyanand, Swami Krishnanand, and letting everybody know the history behind Hinduism in Ghana. So some of the problems and the challenges that we actually face in Ghana, majority of them are external. One, like Swami Krishnanand said, when he first came to Ghana, he noticed that the Indians that were in Ghana did not actually come to introduce Hinduism, did not come to teach Hinduism, did not come to talk about Hinduism to anyone. They did their own thing in their own homes. They only came there purposely for trade. And I'm talking about somewhere in the near 1960s, thereabout. I wasn't even born. But that was what Swami Krishnanand identified. So whilst he was going around touring Africa, and then when he came to Ghana, he made us to understand that we were actually, our traditional path was not different from Hinduism. So as at that time, from the 60s to the 70s, when Swami Krishnanand was coming and going forth and back, we didn't have a lot of challenges because a lot of the people that came to listen to His Holiness Swami Krishnanand, and at that time, Swami Ghananand, they were already in tune and they were already practicing the traditional way of Hinduism in Ghana. And that is what the Europeans actually call the African traditional religion, which I dispute that, and I call it the African traditional path, because in actual fact, Hinduism is not a religion. When we talk about religion, it has a different definition altogether. And when you look at the African traditional way of practice and our worship, which is synonymous to Hinduism or Sanatana Dharma, also has that same similarity. So I don't call it a religion. Now, His Holiness Swami Krishnanand and Swami Ghananand, as at that time, and the members did not encounter a lot of external problems because people were already around that era, they were already on the path. The only thing, there was a few differences, and we had a lot of great members. I mean, we had one general who was one the captain of the army in Ghana, who was a proud member, and he never hide it or anything like that. And when you mention his name, everybody knows him. So we had a lot of big men, a lot of big people in government. There is even one time that I remember one of the presidents came to plant a tree in the monastery, which we wanted to keep it as a symbol. But at some point, because we didn't have a big place to kind of like keep it, we had to cut it down for other projects. It would have been one of those significant moments to say that this president came to plant this sort of thing there as one of those symbols. So we are actually proud on, in some aspects, especially when the whole thing started. So now the problems actually really started when it was our generation. So our generation, and probably maybe some of the generations that were a little bit ahead of us, that's where the problem started. And that was when the other religions, and I don't want to mention names, but they came up with this sort of, how do you call it? Trying to convert people, okay? That was when the Western culture was actually getting its foothold into the African fabric, and for that matter, the Ghanaian fabric. So it became a bit of a challenge. And they came with that sort of services whereby they were luring people with materialism. Okay, they were luring people to come to the Western world and all of this. So, you go there, they give you food, they give you this, they give you clothing, they let you understand that even you are your clothing, your way of life was wrong and all of that. They were going to give you this and that and that. So people were kind of like moving away. And then they also started building more and more schools. Right now, if my estimate is right, or if whatever I came up with is right, almost about 80% of the schools are run by missionaries, Christian missionaries. So you can just imagine where do you fall into when we only have 5 temples? We don't even have a day nursery to run. So it is one of those big challenges. So when we were growing up, they had already got a foothold in there. So now everything about Hinduism and other religion was wrong. Even it came to a point that they were criticizing Islam religion so much so that it became like a battle. Anyway, it's just one of those things. So for Hindus, it was very, very, very difficult. I remember when I was in the junior secondary school, we were the second batch to have started junior secondary school in 1990. I was holding a Sri Hanuman book. At that time, His Holiness Swami Krishnanand had come to Ghana and he brought it a Hanuman Chalisa. And we were all learning Hanuman Chalisa. And I took this book to school. So at my spare time, I could read Hanuman Chalisa. I was told that I have gone to take an occult book. So the teachers, about 5, 6 of them, they called me, and they said they were going to pray for me. And that was very embarrassing. They had no knowledge. They didn't understand anything. But you can just imagine the sort of things that we were going through. If it's not because I was a very, very strong guy in my own way to have gone through that, I mean, believe me, I would have left the path. These are some of the challenges that we were growing up because there was so much lack of education about Hinduism in Ghana and in Africa. Excuse me to say that a lot of the Indians that came, they came to trade. So for them, it wasn't about them teaching us Hinduism or anything. So our Swami had a lot of difficult tasks, a lot of work to do, but we thank him for everything that he has done for us. Like Daniela mentioned, when I was reading her article, if you look at it, some of the external problems that we also have has got to do with the fact that we don't also engage outside too much. And it is time that we do those things. Engage with the people, come up with programs, okay? Whichever way, small way that you come up with, just come up with it. Gradually, people will understand. I quite remember one of my best mates, he's in England. We started talking about Hinduism way back in Ghana. I quite remember 1990 something that we started talking about Hinduism, all the way to the year 2000 when I traveled. And we would talk on the phone for so many hours and hours. And he will ask me so many questions. And I can tell you that it was just about 5, 6, 7 years ago that he actually now came to understand that that path was actually right. So he was a Christian. Now he said he doesn't call himself a Christian anymore. You see, he said, okay, look, at the moment I put myself as being a level-headed person. He's not associating himself with any religion. And that was a little bit funny, one of those chats that we used to have. So you can just imagine, look at the number of years that it's taken me to be able to lecture my own friend for so many years. And not only that, he got the opportunity to come to the temple. He saw Swami Gananand, and he had a lot of interactions. I explained the mutis to him. He understood the reason why the mutis were there. He didn't call them statues anymore. And he also, in his small way, he also started to also do a lot of research in his small way. So it's absolutely, a very, very, very big task for we the youth, and a very big challenge that we need to take this. Then, like Daniela said, a lot of engaging. We need to engage a lot of people outside. So yeah, moving forward, when it comes to engaging outside, I think more and more education has to go on for them to understand it. Internally, we also have problems of our own, and I think we need to kind of like try and also sort our internal problems. Because, for example, if you are going to engage with somebody outside and internally you have not actually cleaned your internal problem, then the person comes in, the person gets confused. So what sort of confusion am I talking about? So for example, being a vegetarian, you come to the temple and then someone must have told somebody that, oh, if you're a Hindu, you definitely have to be a vegetarian. No, it's not true. It doesn't have to be like that. Hinduism and Sanatana Dharma does not hold hard and fast on any rule. Like Bharat said, it's very, very liberal. You are allowed to, go along with your life. And also the way and manner we also engage with the people outside. I know some of our own friends in the monastery who kind of like will hold their prayer beads or their rosary or mala in a certain way just to let people think that he has some supernatural powers and he can do something. Look, if you do that, you are sending out a wrong signal. So these are some of the internal problems that we can also look at and then probably let them understand that, look, that is not the way we have to present things. So it's whilst we're looking at the external ones, we also have to kind of like talk about a little bit about the internal ones. And so externally, let people understand that Hinduism is not about acquiring of the supernatural powers. Okay. But from my investigation and from my interaction, I'm lucky to have had the opportunity to have friends who are Christians, who are Muslims, and who are, Judaism and Jews and all of those things. And I get time to kind of like have interaction with them. Now, majority of them thinks that Hindus have supernatural powers, but in reality, it's not true. And our mantras are used negatively, which is not true. Okay, so I said to myself, if this is what they are asking me, let me find out the reason why they have that sort of perception. I came to realize that a true Sanatana Dharma who is on the path, when you do something against somebody who is on the path, that person thinks it is my karma, or that person thinks it is karma, it has to happen. They won't get involved with you. But the thing is that because you, the person at the other side, mentally, because you know that you have done something negative, if something negative happens to you, you think that because the person did not respond to you, that is the reason why he has done something to you, because there's a perception that he's a Hindu, he has any supernatural powers, but it's not true. So some of these things I have to explain it to a lot of my friends that it doesn't work like that. If something happens to you, it's not because you did something to a Hindu, that's why that thing happened to you. It's because it is karma, it is meant to happen. When I'm walking on the street, I get my foot knocked out, not because I did something to somebody and I got my foot hurt. No, it is meant to happen. Probably I should have lifted my foot a little bit up, and I was trying to, be whatever I want to be. So it's one of those things. So yes, it is very, very, very difficult with some of the things that Hindus are going through. And I'll probably say that at this point, I'll give the floor. I think we've done about an hour for people to start asking, almost about an hour to start asking questions, and then maybe we can take it from there. Is that okay, Dr. Nchenji and Kalji?
Thank you, Kofi ji, and thank you, Daniela. Thank you, Bharata. Thank you, Sanjaya, for a very beautiful depiction of state of Sanatana Dharma and its followers in Ghana. Before we take question, because we have a little bit of time and we have some guests, I am actually interested in asking them to give their viewpoints. I'm going to invite a couple of people from the audience. We are primarily an advocacy and academic organization, and we have an academic joining us from JNU. It is Professor Ajay Dubey, who is the provost of Jawaharlal Nehru University. And I would like to request Professor Ajay Dubey to give his opinion and comments on this particular topic. from an outside Ghana point of view. Professor Ajay Dubey, if you can unmute yourself. Kindly
Thank you.
unmute yourself.
Thank you. Namaskar. It's very interesting to listen to all the speakers and to join this topic. Let me introduce myself. I am professor at the School of International Studies, and I'm associated with Center for African Studies. And I work on Africa as well as global Indian diaspora. So it's very interesting for me to join this talk. I got through Antarashtriya Sehयोग Parishad. Pathak ji, who is here, Mukesh ji, who is here, they are very closely known to me. And I'm very keen to know more about this. I had been several times to Ghana for several professional academic meetings, but had no idea about this type of initiative that is going on there. And I'm very happy to know that there are Hindus, sadhus, Hindu establishment, and I would like to know more and more about them and to share this with my students who are here, that how this is also a growing religion in Africa and especially in Ghana. And in that connection, I am very happy to join and looking forward to learn more and more from these very distinguished African Hindu people who spoke so much about their concern, their aspiration, and what kind of issue they are facing over there. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Professor Dubey. I'm going to invite one more person from the audience to give a few comments, and that is Mr. Rajesh Gogna. He's Secretary General of Human Rights Defense International. So it's a fellow human rights organization based in India. And since ICHRRF is a human rights organization, we would like to give platform to Mr. Rajesh Gogna. Mr. Gogna, please go ahead.
Thank you, Aditya ji. Really, Mukesh ji informed me about this discussion. Our organization is committed to the human rights concerns of Hindu diaspora. So we have our units in Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Bhutan, Mauritius, and many other countries. We are the front lines. So in South Africa, we also organize some programs. But as far as Ghana is concerned, I never knew that there is a crisis of Hindus. They are facing some kind of a crisis of existence because the countries where we work in, it is vandalization of temples or forced conversions or violence. In Ghana, it is very personal. To the limit I could understand from this discussion that non-availability of the vegetarian or some kind of uncomfort, not that level of comfort for propagating your religion. I don't know whether you are allowed to propagate it, but I personally, being a human rights organization, I believe in that there should be advocacy groups. There should be advocacy groups and support from international institutions or organizations. I don't know whether this organization or those people who are participating in the group who have an advocacy group. Our organization, which is Human Rights Defense International, would be very eager and willing for the group and support group for the freedom of practicing of the religion in Ghana, the promotion of the right of the propagation of religion, and the practices of the religion are smoothly allowed, seamlessly allowed. So we are always there, and just think of us, and we would be there to extend support to your organization, efforts, and support to your all religious activities. We are there to ensure they are seamless, smoothless, and without any fear. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gogna, for your gracious offer to our Hindu brothers from Ghana. for any kind of help at any point in time, I'm pretty sure they will be able to contact you and we will facilitate that process. But thank you very much for your comments and observations. We have time for questions now, so I will go through the chat room and start reading questions and comments, and we will ask our panelists to respond to them. The first observation or comment has already been actually responded to in some manner by Mr. Kofi Sarpong, but I will read it anyway, and it is from Christina Boozer. And she writes, I may have misheard or misunderstood, but I think heard that one barrier is food shortage or difficulty accessing vegetables. I read last year there were some shortages in vegetables with concern that this was due to political upheavals. What non-profits, government stakeholders, or grassroots organizations are assisting to alleviate the barriers in accessing produce? So any of the four panelists, if they want to respond to that, please go ahead.
Sanjaya, you come from the farming community in Ghana. I'll put that to you. Please go ahead. Let them know what you are doing out there.
Namaste again. Basically, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. So basically, Ghanaians are not known for the consumption of vegetables. So it's a little bit difficult. We mostly go with nuts and cereal and a little bit of carbohydrate. So vegetables are naturally not grown in Ghana as much as the other countries. From where I come from, the cultivation of vegetables is not impressive, not that impressive. The profit margin on the vegetables are a little bit very low as compared to the other food items. So people tend to sway to these kind of foods and not push to vegetables and let's say mushrooms and other things. Mushrooms, for instance, are not grown in Ghana. They are naturally handpicked in farms when they find some. So it is not in a large scale that productions are done on this kind of vegetables. So being a vegetarian in Ghana, it's not an easy task. We mostly go with these nuts and mushrooms, handpicked. Vegetables are very expensive. To be honest, are very expensive. So
Thank you, Sanjaya. I think
we've lost Sanjaya.
Yeah, we lost you because of
the
okay, he's back.
Okay, so I feel the government needs to look at this section, though there are groups that vegetables. There are not ready markets for these vegetables. So thank you.
Thank you, Sanjaya. I think Rajesh Gogna raised his hand.
Yes,
Rajesh,
to have a better understanding, I just wanted to know our fellow Hindus in Ghana, what are the constitutional provisions about the religious minority, whether there is a freedom of religion, and to what extent actually the practice propagation of minority religion is permitted or welcome in Ghana?
That one, I'll chip in on that. When it comes to Ghana, we are lucky to have multicultural religious kind of thing, which has been there since Ghana was actually formed. Right. The poor people who make Ghana what Ghana is are the Akan people, and they are spread out all over the place, and they are very, very, very tolerant. They are very tolerant because they have their different ways of practicing their traditional way of life. And they have brought that all the way from generations and generations into the Ghanaian fabric. So constitutionally, we are not being undermined or anything. We have the freedom to express ourselves and do everything that we have to do. And we, even Hindus have been invited to a lot of events in Ghana, which when I was there, Swami Satyanand was invited to an event that I was supposed to go, but unfortunately, because of ill health, he couldn't make it. So I had to go and represent him. So we get every time and now we get represented when it comes to that sort of gathering in terms of religious people, we are never left behind. But the main problem is from the individual level and from the religion to religion level. That is where the main problem is. And because a lot of the Ghanaian society and the Ghanaian fabric have been crippled by one major religion, and its main aim is to make sure that they grow whilst the other religions do not grow because of their agenda. That is what is actually hampering us from moving forward. So that is one of those, reasons why it's like a but. In general, when it comes to our political, how do you call it? You made mention, just escaped me. When it comes to our policies and documentation and everything, yeah, we are not undermined, not at all. We have right now at the moment we have someone who used to be a former deputy minister, and she came out to be a proud Hindu, and I was surprised when I went to Ghana. I was working with her. The sort of support that she had was amazing, and it was because she got a chance to learn Vedanta and started to explain to people, and now people are beginning to kind of like realize and understand some of these things. So it is very good. And touch a little bit on.
Wanted to know what is the percentage of Hindus in Ghana? Actual percentage. Actual number. The percentage and the actual number of Hindus.
We are probably, maybe I'll probably put it around 4,000, maybe 4,000 to 5,000. Not a lot of people.
Thank you, Kofi. I'll go to the next question. It is from Mr. Carl Clemens. Do intermarriages happen between Hindus and non-Hindus in Ghana? In such marriages, is one person expected to convert?
Right. Thank you very much, Carl G. I'll put that question to Bharat. Please, Bharat, if you can help us with that, I really appreciate that. Please go ahead.
Okay. So in response to the question about intermarriages, yes, we do have a lot of Hindus that marry non-Hindus, and we do have a lot of other religions that we do have a lot of intermarriage going on in Ghana. One thing I notice is most people try to marry as far as they have personal discussions about it, and let's say the choice. There are some people that were to get married, and because of their family resistance to the idea that maybe the person is a Hindu or the person is of another religion, what they do is sometimes some people decide to marry and then they would change their religion or marriage. They would maybe, let's say there's a lady I know who got married and changed to Christianity. Even though at home she says what we learned, she practices the Vedanta and the teachings and meditates and other things, but she changed to Christianity because of the pressure from society and the family. We do have the issues where, sorry about that, we do have the issues where also there are people who also prefer to get married and stay in their their actual religions. So there are Christians who do marry Hindus, and then their kids would sometimes go to either the church or the temple and then their family, they still do attend their respective religion. There are still people who actually get married and join the Hindu religion, like my mom did. My mom, when she met my dad, she was a Christian. She learned much more about Hinduism from my dad. Attending temple, started learning a lot under Swami Gananath's tutelage, and then she decided to become Hindu by choice. So because we don't necessarily force our members or people to sort of join my religion, or you should try to join my religion. We don't try to set, like, I don't know how to put it, but we don't try to force people to join. We allow people to join of their own free will. If they feel like the teachings, they can relate to the teachings, they can also learn more where they feel like they belong, then they join. But there are a lot of intermarriages between Christians, Hindus, and Muslims. Mostly Muslims prefer if their wives, they actually join the Islam religion, according to what I'm aware of in Ghana. But in terms of Christian and Hindu marriages, there are a lot of times where sometimes a woman might join the man in the religion, or the man might join the woman, or they'll both attend their churches respectively. It depends on the conversations that they have and then the agreements they have.
Thank you, Bharata.
Thank you.
One of our panelists who was not able to join because of technical issues has been able to join, and he is Nityananda. So Kofiji kindly request Nityananda to give his presentation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Adisanji. I would like to give Nityananda the platform to go ahead and come up with what he's got on the subject. So please, Nityananda, since we have some few minutes, can you quickly share with us your research, please?
Thank you very much, Kofiji, and I'm glad to be on this platform. Sorry for being late due to technical difficulties at my end. I've been late here, but then I've heard a lot about what has been said on here, and then I just came to meet Bharat's view on the points that Steve clearly raised. Now, the points that I gathered here was that we, the local Hindustanis here, we lack educational resources because we don't have educational resources to do more research on Hinduism-based stuff, and then this makes it very limited. Unlike the other sects, like the Christians and the Muslims, they have more educational resources. That's whenever they are being challenged with difficulties with regards to knowledge as to what to gather or information, when they get to dive deep in whatever they are searching for. And then secondly, I also came across social discrimination. They are very small, like they are in the minority group. So here is the case when they get to places that we meet the majority settings, we are faced with social discrimination. At times you go looking for jobs, and then criteria is or what's your qualification as. You might be at the top base or the peak of whatever job you are going to search for. And then because they know in that perspective that you are understanding, they'll rather give a job to somebody who is a Muslim or somebody who is a Christian, other than give it to you that you are understanding. So we are also facing such social discrimination. And then the stigmatization of a Hindu practitioner of being an idol worshipper is also a problem. Lack of establishments like the councils. The Christians, they have the Christian council, and then the Muslims also have the Muslim councils. But unlike the Hindus, we don't have anything like the Hindu council. So when you are faced with Dharma issues or problems, it makes it difficult to find the actual authority or the frontier to go to and then address our issues to. And then basically there's lack of education, because of the ignorances that people have gathered. They think that if you are a Hindu, then it means the gain that you get from has to be wealth. So far as you mentioned to somebody that they are Hindu, the first thing they think about is you're a rich person, and then you're an idol worshiper. So I think this stigmatization also has to be cleared away. So basically, this is what I gathered during my things that I did. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nityanandaji, for your comments. I'll go to the next question, and it is from Mukesh Agrawal. It's a two-part question. The first part has already been answered, so I will not read that. But the second part is very important. And the second part of the question is, by his own estimate, there are 40,000 Indian expatriates living in Ghana. And it is probably true that majority of them may be Hindus, if not belonging to other religions. The question he is asking is very significant one. Do Hindu expatriates from India and Ghana go to Hindu temples of Hindus in Ghana and interact with them?
Yes, I would like to say a lot of them do come to the temple, especially when Swami Gananand was there. I had a personal experience on that, and I'll say yes, majority of them, especially the three temples, the Accra branch, the Kumasi branch, and Cape Coast branch, and also the Tama branch. Because these branches are not far from the capital, they are able to go to the temples. But like I said, they came there for business, and they come and they do their practice and then they go. So it's one of those setbacks. I'm not trying to over criticize them, but it's one of those setbacks that I thought I should mention. So if we're able to get them together and put them into one platform and let them know that this is a setback and they should do more, I think will really help. Sanjay, I also like to hear your view. Bharat, you can also tell me your view. Nityananda, you can also express your view on that, because you people are on the ground.
Kofi G?
Yes, Sanjay, go ahead. Sanjay, go ahead.
Okay, so growing up in Kumasi, one of our branches, we saw a lot of Indians trooping in. Some actually organize activities, the Wali, and they use the temple, so they come interact with us. They cook, we eat their foods, they also eat their foods. So basically, I feel some also offer support to some of us. There was this particular person that I want to mention, Professor Emeritus Sen. He's a lecturer at KNUST in Kumasi that was offering support to, I think, most born Hindus in Kumasi, especially guys. So he used to do satsang for just guys between the ages of 15 to 22. We go, we have lunch, everything, satsang, everything. So I feel some of them are really trying and they are really promoting the religion. Thank you.
Okay. Bharat, what's your take?
Yeah, so in addition to that, I'm usually in the main capital, the Accra branch. What I've noticed growing up is there are a lot of times where in the beginning of the year we have a yapa. And that's where we get a lot of Indians that come in. Sometimes we get visits from the Indian High Commission as well, the Indian High Commission as well, where they come, they do the so usually not out during a yapa in terms of the foreign or Indian people coming to the temple. But in terms of most people do come to the temple.
We have signal problem from Bharata.
Yes, I think
when
so.
there's no is it better? Hello?
Go ahead, Bharat. Correct.
Okay, so sorry about that. So sorry about that. My network is a little bit slow. So what I was saying is we do have a lot of people that do come to the temple, and they do have another temple as well, but some do come to our temple to come and join, celebrate. The only issues I would say only face is a lot of the Indians are quite welcoming. And I'm told it's not from people I've communicated with and those who I'm friends with, it's not a lot of people that are, let's say, open to, let's say, talk to you. Maybe when they come, they need information. Some would prefer not to speak to you. They'll just go about their business. Who are very, very friendly, who are much more welcoming, who have the natural Indian hospitality that you are used to. So they would normally associate with you, sit down with you, try to chat with you, try to also discuss with you. Some people actually are even close friends, but there's some who basically come just for prayers. They come with their family, they sit for a few hours and then they leave. We did have an issue back time when Swami Gopal came to Ghana, where there was worship going on, and then some Indians kept coming in and going in as the police, and he sort of brought caution to them that once you come to the temple, until service is over, you don't get up and leave. You don't just get up and move around as you please. You have to stay. You have to interact. You have to be able to, you come to a place of worship. A place of worship should be a place where everyone should be able to sort of find a common ground, find a way to interact. So it doesn't necessarily, you don't have to necessarily be all chatty and friendly, but you have to at least be able to mingle. You have to be able to take part in the service. You don't just come and live with your family. So we do have that issue where we do have some that are not necessarily welcoming, but there are lots more Indians that are much more friendly. They are much, and there's a lot of people that actually help the temple. I can speak of one person who I know personally who always donates to the temple, various branches, Mr. Bobby Yukosa. He's always helping. He's from, I think, Punjab, Ludhiana, I'm not sure particularly. And he's, even though he's in India currently, he always makes sure he communicates with people in the temple. He sends prasad when we have auspicious occasions. He contributes as much as he can and also helps with issues when there are issues in the temple that need assistance, that need people who can help. They are always there to support us. So there are a lot of significant people who are very, very instrumental, Indians that are very instrumental and helpful in the progress at our temple. Thank you.
Thank you, Bharata. Nityanandji, would you like to join on this particular issue? Kindly unmute yourself.
Yes, like my brother and sister said, I'm also in the capital with Bharata, and then we've seen numbers of Hindus trooping in. One were those days that they were coming very in their numbers. Like she rightly said, in the beginning of every year, the first festival that we do celebrate is the Ayafa. And then they show tremendous contribution and everything. Secondly is the festival of the Shibayatri, which we'll be having just this Friday or yeah. So they also show tremendous contribution and actions towards that. But I think somehow the welcoming issue, like any other human beings do have. And then I think most of them too is because they think they have an alternative temple at the Osuda. So they think if they don't come to the capital-based temple, they can still go to the Osu temple and then make their request there. Basically, I think the main problem we are having with them not trooping much as they were now is because they are not seeing a figure that they are supposed to see at the place there. Gone were those days when Swami Ganananda, His Holiness Maharaja, was alive. They were trooping in very, very well. Each and every time, each and every day, mornings, afternoon, evenings. Even if they are not coming to do anything, they just come and make their donations, do their sadhana, and then they just leave. So, like my brothers and sisters said, we are looking more ahead and forward to see them coming more in and then giving more helping hands to the locals here, so that at least they are also maintain a good pace like we've always wanted to.
Thank you, Nityanandaji. Thank you very much. Before I take the next question, there are some comments and observations about how to liaise with Hindus in Ghana and Hindus in other countries, and some of the contributions and activities of Mr. Kofi ji. I will invite Professor Yashwant Pathak to say a few words because he is quite active in this discussion, observations. By the way, Professor Pathak is member of the board of directors of ICHRRF. So he has also worked with ICCS. Professor Pathak, would you like to say something to the audience? I'm not sure Professor Pathak is hearing us, so I'll go to the next question. And that question is from Mr. Clemens. Do Hindus in Ghana have any social allies like African traditionalists?
Right. Thank you very much, Carl G. When I was growing up, I did remember that Swami Gananan used to have a lot of these traditionalists coming in to the temple just to come and have interactions with him, just to know more about Sanatana Dharma, because Swami Ganan, His Holiness, came up from the traditional background, and he kept that sort of thing with him throughout his lifetime and his practice. And because of that, he was like a magnet to some of these people who were still on the traditional path, and they used to come there a lot. I saw quite a few of them personally. So it is something that when he was alive, it was there. And even I quite remember there was one Roman Catholic father who came to live in the monastery, I think for about 3 months, just to come and learn Sanatana Dharma and Hinduism. And I was very surprised. I was like, why? What is this? I woke up one morning and I saw this elderly man come to the temple, pray with us, go. I've never seen him before. So after a couple of weeks, I said, Swaminji, in our language, I said, now Papa, we then Swamiji told me, I asked, what is this man doing? And Swamiji said, he's a Roman Catholic and father, and he's come there to learn Sanatana Dharma. I was like, wow. So Swami Garanand did a lot of great job bringing the traditionalists, bringing everybody from every fabric of the society together, to understand the path. So he wasn't only about Hinduism, he was across everywhere. And to answer your question, Carl G, it was something that was being done, but at this moment it has died down a lot of it. But hopefully we will get the two sannyasis that we've got to be able to bring that thing back into life, because one of them is like my mom. She's older than me. She lived with Swamiji for a long time. She knows Swamiji for a long time. So I know that she still has that sort of spirit in her. And I believe that she'll be able to revive that. So thank you very much, Carl G, for the question. I hope I have answered you.
Dr. Adinji, I think Dr. Yashwant Pathak wanted to say a few words. He's having trouble with WebEx, but I'm going to call him on my phone and he can speak through here. Is that okay?
He's back.
He's back. Okay, Professor Pathak.
Okay, he's there, but his audio doesn't work. For some reason, his audio isn't functioning. He's not able to start his unmute himself.
You can liaise.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Fantastic. First of all, my apologies, and
I'm
so happy that Professor Ajay Dubey is there from JNU, and Kofi and all other my Ghana brothers and sisters are there. I am very impressed with the whole discussion. And I had a fortune to visit Ghana and meet Swamiji, and I still remember the way he used to make everyone laugh in the audience, and tell about the Vedanta and Bhagavad Gita and everything. My sweet memories. I just want to share with you all that we will be able to collaborate with Kofi and all other people from Ghana to make sure that we will work together from ICCS and Rewatch, as well as Professor Dubey is here. He has a significant experience and research in the African traditions and culture. He is the provost of JNU, Jawaharlal Nehru University, and I think we do have a great future in the near time. Thank you very much.
Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Pathak. Before we end this seminar, we still have some time. If anyone wants to make any comments, we are a small group. I would encourage people to either raise their hand or send the comments through the chat room. We would like to give everyone an opportunity. Those who have not spoken or have not made any comments, this would be the time to,
May I ask a question directly?
Sure.
Yeah, I had a question to Kofi or any of the Ghanaian participants. There are programs here in the US for American Hindus to conduct camps, like for instance, either a religious camp or a Sanskrit language camp in other parts of the world. So for instance, they go to certain parts of India or to certain parts of Indonesia, like Bali, to have like a 10-day camp. Do you think Ghana would be a place where Hindus from other parts of the world can also come to be with Ghanaian Hindus, and also there'll be places to see for them, culturally enrich themselves while also conducting a camp? And do you think that would be something that Ghanaian Hindus would also benefit from?
Yeah, go ahead, Bharat.
Thank you. So in response to that, Ghana is definitely a very welcoming place. Anyone who has been to Ghana would say that the people are very welcoming, even regardless of the fact that you're Hindu, you're Christian, you're Muslim. Once you travel here, like, people are very, very welcoming in general. And these programs, like the way you mentioned, the 10-day camp, if organized properly and then the right people and government, the right people or the people in charge currently at our temple, people who are also representing the various branches, are able to be communicated with, and there's an understanding that is being able to have, is definitely a possibility that can actually even keep happening. It doesn't even have to be something that will happen once. It can keep happening, because like this whole thing is also to bring awareness generally about Hinduism, and also mainly in African countries and other places. And like Kofi G said, I recently had the privilege of attending the ICCS conference, and we spoke about issues like this and how to bring whatever it is that was taught, whatever it is that we learned, how the programs are scheduled and how it is handled. We're asked if we can also bring something like this. Felt like that would be a great opportunity, because Ghanaians are always excited at the opportunity of doing something fun, as far as it's made interesting and the right people are contacted. Reason for saying that is currently in our temple, there's a lot of touchy issues since Swami Gananand passed. And usually if issues are not handled in the right channel or the right people are not spoken to, there can be a lot of inside conflicts that would sort of cause these kind of programs not to have a good reflection, not to have the peace and unity that is supposed to have. So I feel like before it's arranged, it has to be planned properly. That's mainly a concern. And the right people have to be spoken to. Then government also has to be involved. That way, it's not just about Hinduism. We can also involve other African cultural people who are open to it as well. So Swami Gananand recently, when we had our 25th celebration at the temple, I think then I was a bit younger, he invited most members from other religions, from Buddhists, invited so many people, a lot of traditional religions. And that was the first, as a kid, I had to find out that all of these religions exist in Ghana. And it was such a great opportunity. And I feel like it was mainly successful because someone like Swami Gananand was at the center of it. And the kind of unity that he brought from even people who had just met him once, people who had heard about him once from India, from all parts of the world, he brought that kind of people together. And I feel like if we are able to sort of get that kind of a person or people who have his mentality and have his ideas, we can be able to bring so many people, not just people from just a few places. We can be able to bring together a lot of people from different parts of the world. So yeah, that's my contribution.
Thank you, Bharata ji. I have in the chat room several comments. So I'm going to invite Mukesh Agarwal if you would like to speak, because you have made some very good points there in the chat room. And we have some time. So if you want to address this gathering.
Yeah, namaste
Mukesh.
everyone. Just a brief comment that I'm ready to help you out. I am in touch with the Indian diaspora in entire West Africa. I had myself visited Ghana, Liberia, Senegal, Gambia, Guinea-Bissau. So if I can encourage people, I would like you to connect with the other Hindu organizations of the neighboring countries also. So we can work on this also.
Thank you, Mukesh, for your gracious offer.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Kofi ji, any last minute comments from you?
Yes, I want to touch a little bit on one issue that was brought up a little bit earlier on with regards to vegetables. Me living outside of Ghana for a very, very long time, and also having a lot of experience in Ghana, what I notice is that the understanding and the perception about having vegetables or having food in Africa is misunderstood. Now, if I'm an European, when I go to India, trust me, I'm not going to get McDonald's if it hasn't been recently. Okay, so I'll be forced to eat chapati, which everybody knows is amazing. So the thing is that some of these comments, some of these people who make these comments, they have an agenda that, oh, there is food shortage in Africa. But when I was growing up, I never saw food shortages. And I was never deficient in any way or the other, because we have different kind of vegetables, different kind of plants that gives us the nutrients that we actually need. And that makes us survive and sustain us. But because the Western man comes to our country and he's not going to get cucumber, he's not going to get carrots, he thinks, oh, there is no food in Africa. No, it doesn't work like that. I quite remember when I was growing up, me and my grandmother, when we used to go to the farm, we would pick up some food items and some seeds and some of that. And I didn't realize until when I came to Europe that I did some research, and I realized that they were giving us the vitamins that we didn't actually have, okay, in those food items. And I quite remember I also had a chat with one doctor in Austria when I was in Austria. And this doctor actually made me to understand that in Africa, we have so many medicinal herbs that we are not even aware that we even have. But a whole doctor telling me this, but meanwhile, somebody else where, will come onto the news, CNN or whatever, and say, oh, no, Africa is shortage of that, and that is a misconception. It's never true. So we have one plant, one plant that we call kontomire. This plant can give you great nutrients and great vitamins, and that's what Ghanaians are actually, using very, very much recently. It was recently that they started packaging it into cans and whatever. Now they're exporting it to the Western world. So when it comes to food, Africa has to do better, but it's also been a tool that is being used to kind of bring us down one way or the other. But it's not true that we have to engage more into farming. So in that perspective, I would say I remember that His Holiness Swami Gananand there was one temple that was in Mampong. He told Mampong people that you people where you are placed in a strategic place where farming should be your main focus. And they could have used farming to even let Hinduism and Sanatana Dharma broadcast all over Ghana and Africa. But unfortunately, people come to the temple with their own thing and they didn't move on with that. So some of these things we would like to have help and get people to get into this sort of local farming and local vocational skills to also kind of like local vocational skills to also kind of like community grow. And I think that is one thing that I wanted to touch on. The other one that I also wanted to touch on is how do you call it? Me and Vinod G, we discussed about 3-4 years ago, I think more than 4 years ago, about trying to get some of the Hindus who are in the western part of the world, especially in North America, to visit Ghana, see what we are doing. Because Vinod G has been to Ghana and, he had a personal experience. So we have discussed that and it's still in the pipeline. Like Bharat said, we need to work it out properly so that it can be done and sustained and worked out in a very proper manner. And on the other hand, we're also going to work out so that some of the Hindu youth, especially, I'm going to consider more of the youth and more of the 10-year-old, the 12-year-olds, to also come to this part of the world, come and have experience with Hindus and have experience with them, so that they can have that diverse kind of understanding of how their practice is going on, so they don't experience the things that I experienced when I was growing up as a Hindu, that I couldn't even explain myself what I was even practicing. So thank you very much. If there's some more questions, we are happy to answer that.
Thank you very much indeed, Kofi-ji. Looks like we have covered all the questions and we have given opportunity to people who have not spoken, but people have kept quiet. So at this time, I will thank our distinguished panelists led by Mr. Kofi Sarpong, Bharata Korli, Mr. Nityanandji, and Mr. Sanjaya Sarpong for a very educational program that educated us about the problems and challenges of Hindus, a tiny minority in Ghana, how they are dealing with the challenges of survival and existence, and trying to make the general society, mainstream society in Ghana, understand the tenets of Sanatana Dharma. So that's a very creditable job you guys are doing. And I'm also thankful to some of our audience members who have reached out very graciously that they would be willing to work with our Hindu brothers and sisters in Ghana and provide them help as well as platform using different modalities. So I'm very pleased. ICHRRF does work for marginalized minorities all across the world. We don't have any particular axe to grind about any particular religion. We support all of them. We support the marginalized minorities that nobody wants to talk about. So we provide them with platform. I hope this has been a very useful session. The video recording of this session will be available on our YouTube channel within the next 24 hours. It will also be available on our website. Thank you very much indeed to all of the participants in this seminar, whether audience members or whether distinguished panelists or staff of the ICHRRF. Thank you very much indeed, and we'll take leave. Namaskar.
Thank you very much. Namaste to everyone. Thanks, everyone.